right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Tonight, a foster mother in jail facing shocking allegations of abuse.
Everybody knew about this house, that the instances of abuse and neglect were well known.
The fear there could be more victims.
A hard freeze tonight for some, with frost for most of us early Tuesday. What you can do tonight to protect any cold-sensitive plants.
Our top story, school upgrades versus teacher cuts. The packed meeting tonight putting educators, parents, and student athletes on the same team. Within the last 90 minutes, the Edwardsville School Board voted to spend more than $2 million to upgrade athletic fields. Good evening. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. This is controversial because it comes just weeks after the district eliminated more than 24 teaching positions. 5 on Your Side's Brent Solomon questioned the superintendent. Brent.
And I'm also talking with parents tonight who tell me this isn't about pitting track or turf against teachers. They say it's about holding the district accountable about how it spends and why. Take a look at your screen right now, and I want you to know that all but one school board member voted tonight to spend $2.3 million to upgrade track and softball fields at the recreation complex behind Edwardsville High School. Student athletes gave a first-hand account of why it would help. There are dips in the foundation, and synthetic turf is needed to help with drainage problems. The timing, though, raised eyebrows, since just 2 weeks ago, the district cut 27 teacher positions due to funding, and that includes 16 teachers not being renewed.
I'm not against tracks or turf fields. I'm not against student athletes, but what I am for is responsible spending. 16 brand new teachers were told on a Friday during the school day or right before school started that they did not have a job the next year. But the district has been telling us that they're in a great financial position.
Your response to people saying this is putting projects over people?
Absolutely. So in education funds, we have different funds that we have to pay for things with. We value the facilities, we value the things that our students have, and you heard from some of our players and our coaches tonight. The reason we want to improve those facilities is for them.
The superintendent telling me that inflation and less money coming in from the state led to those teacher cuts, which, by the way, is saving the district, he says, $900,000. Tonight, there was also discussion about building a new storage warehouse, which would cost about $4 to $5 million if they did it, but no action on that just yet. We're live in Edwardsville. Brent Solomon, 5 on Your Side.
Tonight, the swollen Merrimack River continues to cause problems in Valley Park. High waters have closed parts of the busy intersection of 141 and 44. Jefferson County has moved tomorrow's polling location at Brookdale Farms in Eureka to Firehouse 1 due to the flooding. We are dealing with 2 weather impacts tonight, flooding and freezing.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell has the latest on the rivers and how cold will it get overnight, Scott?
Well, a lot of us are going down below freezing or at least around freezing for the overnight hours. But as we look at the numbers on the river, we are past crest on the Merrimack now through Sullivan. That crest almost into Pacific. You're within 6 inches of that crest. So it's happening overnight into tomorrow morning in Pacific. Then it will start to drop there. Eureka's getting close. About 7 more inches to go in Eureka. And in Valley Park, you have about 15 to 18 more inches to go up before it starts going down. In Fenton and Arnold, while it's still rising, we are looking at minor flooding there. The Big River is crested in Burnsville. The Burbus River is now crested in Union, and that is wrong for a number there over in the Kaskaskia River because right now there's debris cluttering everything up, so they don't really know what the value is, but it's somewhere around 84, 85 feet, cresting at 86.5. The good news is no significant rain in the next week. That's not to say we don't have some, but it won't be significant. Already down into the 30s here off to the northeast of St. Louis. 36 over in Effingham. Litchfield's 37. Most of us around the metro area are still in the low to mid 40s. As the winds die down overnight, we are going to see frost develop in most spots and many locations away from town in the normally colder spots. You're down around 28, 29 degrees tomorrow. So your spring flowers, from bulbs are fine, but anything that's sensitive needs to be addressed. Cover up those strawberry plants if they're blooming. Those blooms can't take it much below freezing. You want to use cloth, fabric, or paper. Again, some of us see a hard freeze tonight. Most of us are seeing frost.
All right, Scott. Tonight, a Lincoln County foster mother is behind bars, accused of abusing a child under her roof. 5 on Your Side's Annie Krall spoke with prosecutors who say this girl may not be the only victim, Annie.
Kelly, Brenda Deutsch was taken into custody this weekend. She's charged with neglect, child abuse, and endangering the welfare of a child. Investigators say more charges could be coming as hundreds of children have been in Deutsch's care over the years.
Particularly heinous and just disturbing to read.
That's Lincoln County Prosecuting Attorney Mike Wood's reaction after poring over the alleged abuse committed by Brenda Deutsch of Winfield.
Two things that really stood out was the number of children that had been fostered through that home, and then the allegations that these types of abuse and emotional neglect had been going on for what seems to be perhaps a decade.
However, a recent case sparked a police investigation on November 21st. A school resource officer at a Lincoln County school noticed a student missing. According to charging documents, Deutsch requested to take a girl in her care to her friend's home in Texas. The child was often left alone there in dirty living conditions with exotic animals, which Wood said Deutsch collects. The attorney explaining a monkey was potentially exchanged along the lines of human trafficking.
A witness who had come forward, who had some information regarding the systemic abuse that was going on in the home, had said that they had been asked to bring the child down to Texas and then bring the monkey back in return. Obviously, we have to do more investigation to see if that's actually credible, if it's true.
The girl also told investigators she was severely beaten for years. Wood was shocked they didn't previously have any police reports, requests of criminal investigations, or prosecutions.
As we kind of broke it open, it seems like apparently it was a very well-known residence that cycled through this abuse, which obviously is really disturbing and problematic.
The female victim is now in protective custody in Texas.
And Deutsch's bond is set at $250,000. Wood said they've already had multiple people come forward about other potential victims. If you have any information, you can contact the Lincoln County Prosecuting Attorney's Office or the Sheriff's Office.
Well, the polls open in Missouri in less than 8 hours for the municipal elections. St. Louis County voters will weigh in on the controversial Proposition B, which would give the county council power over county department heads. In St. Louis City, there are hotly contested races for mayor, comptroller, and some board of aldermen seats. Just hours ago, the candidates for those citywide offices took part in one final debate.
A majority of tonight's virtual forum was taken up by the candidates for comptroller. Darlene Green has served as the city's chief fiscal officer for 30 years and has run virtually unopposed until now. Former state rep and city alderwoman Donna Behringer outperformed her by 2 points in last month's primary. She says it's time for change.
Time is up is because, number one, I've not stayed in any one role for 30 years. And the other issue with that is, and my husband works in the financial industry, they don't want the same person that long in any role.
When they were in office as an alderman, never called the comptroller's office into question. When they were in office as a state rep, never called the comptroller's office into question. And those questions began coming when this person was term limited.
Within the last 5 hours, early voting locations closed in the city of St. Louis.
Thousands of people took advantage of the option to cast their ballots early. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski is live downtown with a look at the numbers. Laura.
Mike and Kelly, 13,903 people voted early here in the city of St. Louis, which the Board of Elections says is higher than the primary numbers.
The St. Louis Board of Elections says early voting in the municipal election went pretty well, with 11,601 people casting their ballots in person and 2,302 sending them in the mail.
Even though it's a small turnout for early voting, it's, compared to like 3 years ago when early voting didn't exist, it's a lot more. So hoping that people it sets in, that people use it more, and it's better for everyone.
For the primary in March, only 9,440 people voted early. So what does it look like for Election Day?
In the primary this year, usually you get around 20% in a primary. This year was 17.5. So whereas typically it's around 30% in mayoral election, and obviously it'd be great to get as many votes as possible, you probably are going to see a reflection of that dip as well in the numbers for the general.
Dan Henroyd has been helping campaign at the polls and has seen the lighter turnout firsthand, but says early voting is a great tool.
I think the more flexibility you give people, to vote, I think the better the turnout should be. It isn't always that way, but at least to give people the option.
While fewer voters show up for non-presidential elections, it doesn't mean it's any less important to make your voice heard.
The people that we're electing, they'll have a long-term impact on the life in the city of St. Louis. And I think if we get the right people in, that people have voted for, and the majority of the people have voted for, I think they can say, yeah, I participated in the process. If you didn't participate in the process, you really don't have much room to complain.
All 52 polling locations will be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow. You can vote anywhere. You just need to bring your ID. That makes it a little easier, but if you don't have an ID, you can still vote with a provisional ballot. Reporting live downtown, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
And we will have all the latest results and reaction tomorrow night at 10. Our election results coverage will kick off at 7 p.m. on the 5+ streaming app. You can watch for free on your TV. Just download the app on Roku, Apple, or Fire TV.
A pulse on vital city services.
It was too easy for the asset to get lost in shuffling of paper.
As St. Louis comes out of the dark ages.
I think it's really important for the city services to be incredibly documented.
Tonight, Only 5 on Your Side has the data showing how the city is keeping up.
A cold, frosty night and very little rain in the forecast. We're continuing to drain all the water from last week, and now we're tracking our next limited chance of rain in just 6 minutes.
Tomorrow, St. Louis voters head to the polls to decide the outcome of a mayor's race that has featured a lot of heated debate about city services. Tonight, for the first time, a 5 on Your Side investigation is bringing you an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at a closely guarded secret.
Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, got a hold of the data and performance dashboard that shows how fast and how well the city does its job.
LouStat is St. Louis's effort to bring city government out of the dark ages, with city workers trading out typewriters for tablets. Our investigation uncovered thousands of public documents showing a city struggling to keep up. It's a big job,
modernizing the office,
especially in a shrinking city with fewer tax dollars to pay a smaller pool of city workers to tend to a long and growing list of chores.
Neglect. You know what I'm talking about. Overgrown grass, broken windows, buildings falling apart.
At the halfway point of her first term in office, Mayor Tashara Jones promised results.
A city that works for you.
And when she delivered her State of the City address,
we can and must modernize city government to improve services.
She had a little-known tool at her disposal.
We're cleaning up our data and service tracking so that we can measure city services. We call this effort LouStat.
LouStat, named for St. Louis, mirrors similar efforts like Data KC in Kansas City, BlightStat in New Orleans, CityStat in Baltimore, and LouisStat in Louisville, Kentucky. But in those places, the public can see the dashboards and keep up with the city's performance and progress in real time. Here,
there's still a lot of work to do to bring city operations into the 21st century.
An aging city is taking time to bring all those stats to the public eye.
Change is hard. But we're making progress in bringing city government out of the dark ages and into the 21st century.
But behind the scenes,
I hear residents' frustrations with inconsistent or unreliable refuse collection.
The data collection effort itself shows city leaders where they can improve internally. When the mayor recently highlighted this problem
and illegal dumping in our alleys,
her aides were already giving her data showing the streets department was taking nearly 39 days on average to address illegal dumping. Almost 13 times longer than its goal of 3 days. The problem putting pressure on public officials to find an answer.
And we're exploring a trash pilot program to study how to change some alleyway trash to roll cards.
The data is driving another city department to innovate.
We get calls about broken hanging limbs.
Calls to the forestry division often come from aldermen.
I've certainly put in a lot of requests in my time as an alderperson.
And Schweitzer represents South City's first ward, which includes Carondelet Park and its thousands of trees. Those complaints populate the dashboard before city department heads meet every 3 months to review performance.
We have a committee called LouStat that we've been meeting for several years now.
One problem in particular started to stick out in those meetings.
with our shortage in labor.
Then a solution came to mind.
We could do it much quicker with this piece of equipment.
Schweitzer also sits on the Capital Committee that reviews and approves big purchases, like the $800,000 the city spent on this big grapple saw.
Trees are crucial infrastructure in the city of St. Louis. I think it's one of the first things that comes to people's mind when they think of city services.
Before the upgrades,
It was too easy for the asset to get lost in the shuffling of paper.
city workers were stuck in time.
Maybe we were in the 70s and our 80s, and we're coming up to common day.
Now, with a clearer look at the problem, the city is one step closer to solutions.
I think it's really important for the city services to be incredibly documented, what's going on, what needs to happen, having all of the data in a database that's easy for different departments to see and for the departments to coordinate.
And full disclosure, we intended to air this story last week, but several times when we asked for on-camera interviews where city officials might show us in real time what we obtained in those paper documents, they said no. That delayed our reporting here, but we still felt it was our job to make these public records part of the public domain. Whoever wins the mayor's race Tuesday night will inherit this data tool and all the problems that it spotlights.
City services and the time it takes for repairs to be made was discussed during the mayoral debate right here on 5 on Your Side last month. Mayor Jones's challenger, Kara Spencer, talked about the concerns of those living in her ward.
You can talk to the 8th Ward residents who've seen the long list of pavings that have gone unanswered. We have a street department that isn't focused on doing the job of a street. At the end of the day, we need a paving plan that looks like paving the city streets.
You can catch that entire mayoral debate right now on the 5+ streaming app. It's free to download and watch on your Roku, Apple, or Fire TV.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell is back with the weather impact forecast. We're talking about a frost, and we're talking about flooding, and thank goodness no severe weather.
No severe weather.
We
no,
don't need any of that right now.
No major rain actually this week. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of rain sometime Wednesday into Thursday. It really doesn't look significant at all, maybe a tenth or a quarter of an inch. We had a front come through today. Probably the only thing you notice is all of a sudden it was feeling pretty good into the 60s, and then it started getting cooler pretty quickly. That front went on down to our south. Temperatures started dropping back into the 50s. Now we are down into the 40s. Most of us around St. Louis are in that 40 to 45 degree range. It is 44 at Lambert. 64 was the high. That was right after the front came through. Then temperatures started to drop, and we were chilly this morning. We were about 35 degrees. Tomorrow morning, across the board, we should end up about 2 or 3 degrees cooler than what we were this morning in most spots. That places most of us in that 28 to 32 degree range. The entire area has a freeze warning. Most of us around Metro St. Louis not looking at a hard freeze, but down around 30, 32, with some of the colder spots in some of those valley locations dropping back to 26 or 27 degrees. That's kind of what we think tonight. Again, upper 20s. The winds are going to settle down here as we head into the hours after midnight. That's one of the reasons why we end up with that colder temperatures. Those are apple blossoms. Some of them are starting to bloom right now. Did a little research because I thought this would be interesting. If you get the temperature down to 28 degrees about the first blossom, or when it's fully blooming like this bunch of blossoms here, or post blossom, you lose 10% of that crop, but it's a 90% loss if it drops to 25 degrees. We don't see that happening tonight. Peach blossoms, well, with that first blossom before they really come out, which I think most of them are already out, 26 they can take it down to, but once it gets up to fully in bloom, and you've seen some peach trees around, maybe in your neighbor's yard, they're beautiful and pink, and we're talking temperatures of 28, kind of singeing a little bit, but you have to get down to 25 or so. Strawberries, if they're blooming in your backyard and you have them, you might want to cover them up tonight with a sheet. Temperatures tomorrow after this bounce back up into the 50s, mid-50s for highs. That front has sagged well to our south now. High pressure builds overhead. That settles the winds down tonight. Next weather system's pretty wimpy on Wednesday. Gives us a few spot showers. Maybe there's a rumble of thunder Wednesday or Thursday, but don't see much of a chance of it, and don't see much in the way of accumulating rainfall outside of a tenth to a quarter of an inch, which will not do anything to complicate the rivers. Of course, it doesn't make the cleanup any easier. But again, we're looking at the crest on the Merrimack in Valley Park tomorrow. It's happening pretty much right now around Pacific. Tomorrow in Valley Park and Eureka, and then it'll start to drop off from those points in West, while still rising down towards Fenton as well as Arnold, but staying at lower levels there. It's not as impactful as you go downstream. The river's wider, it's deeper.
All right, Scott, thanks. Frank is here with sports.
What a night in sports, Mike. The Cardinals trying to stop the bleeding, the Blues trying to extend their winning streak, and the national title game in college basketball. We'll be right back. The Blues played the Winnipeg Jets tonight. They also played them the first game back after the Four Nations face-off. When they played them on that February 22nd, they were 8 points out of the final playoff spot. 8 points. This evening, they had a chance to clinch a playoff spot. Amazing what a 12-game win streak can do for you. A moment of silence before the game for Greg Millen, a former Blues broadcaster and Blues player who died at the age of 67 today. Second period, a great hustle play by Morgan Barron to beat Joel Hofer, and it's 1-0 Jets. But the Blues come back on a gorgeous pass from Robert Thomas to Pavel Buchnevich to beat Connor Hellebuyck. It's 1-1 after 2. Third period, Kyle Connor will shoot it, and Alex Iafallo will pounce on the rebound to beat Hofer. Jets led it 2-1. Robert Thomas and the Blues wanted to tie so badly, not to be. Adam Lowry added the empty netter for the Jets, and the Blues' 12-game win streak ends at the home of the best team in hockey, the Winnipeg Jets. 3-1 the final.
Streak was great. You know, while it lasted, now we got to refocus and we got to play better than we did tonight to be able to try and get in the playoffs. That's our focus.
A lot of reasons for the Blues turnaround, and one of the monumental ones has been the magnificent job of Jim Montgomery. The 55-year-old has pushed the right buttons. I asked a former Blues great for his take on Monty.
He's an unbelievable communicator. His systems, his energy, the guys love playing for him. He knows he's a former player, and he wins at every level. And what he's done for this team since he's gotten here has been incredible.
I felt this was kind of a game the Cardinals needed to win. Stop the bleeding from Boston, beat a bad Pittsburgh team tonight before they throw their ace tomorrow, Paul Skeens. But the Cardinals are like my wife. They don't listen to me. Second inning, already 3-0 Pirates. Ke'Bryan Hayes with the base hit. That will score a run. 4-0 Pirates. Brendan Donovan went 7 for 11 in Boston. Tonight, 3 more hits, including this one in the 5th, which scored Michael Ciani. When Ivan Herrera went on the injured list, Joel Pozo got the call, and he dialed up this homer to make it 4-2. But in shocking news, the Cardinals bullpen faltered again. The Pirates go on to hammer the Birds 8-4. The Cardinals have given up 29 runs in their last 20 innings. On October 15th, 364 Division I basketball teams rolled out the ball for their first official practice. They all had one date and one city in mind. April 6th, San Antonio. 2 teams, Houston and Florida, hit the court tonight to decide the title that only one can have. Al Horford, who won 2 national titles at Florida, in the stands. A little run by the Cougars early. L.J. Cryer from the logo for the 3. And then on the break, Malik Wilson will throw it down. Houston up 3 at halftime, and the joint was jumping. Second half, Houston went up by 12 when Cryer hit that 3. But Walter Clayton Jr. on the 3-point play will tie it. Crucial moment, 26 seconds to play. Emmanuel Sharp tries to get to the rim, but the ball goes off his leg. Florida has the ball with a 1-point lead. Houston, final play, a chance to tie or win the game, and Sharp can't get a shot off. Have you ever seen an ending like that? Florida is your national champion, 65-63. Unbelievable.
Oh, so close.
Not a shot off.
I didn't even get the shot off. Wow. All right, thanks, Frank.
The Frozen Four is skating into Enterprise Center this week, the event where you won't be left out in the cold if you don't have tickets to the games.
We're just 3 days away until they drop the puck on the NCAA Frozen Four at Enterprise Center. The semifinal games will be played Thursday, the championship Saturday. Seats still available through Ticketmaster.
You can catch the teams open skate on Wednesday for free. There's even a complimentary parking in the Field Garage. Western Michigan will take the ice at 11:15 a.m., followed by the University of Denver, Boston University, and Penn State.
And you could also take part in Frozen Fest. That's both Thursday and Saturday. There'll be interactive games, music, food, drink, pep rallies, all under the Union Station train shed.
Good time.
We got to show out for this. Every time we have a big sporting event in St. Louis, we nail it. We like do it better than anybody else. We got to really show everybody how good we are.
Yeah, and the weather's going to cooperate. There's a really limited chance for any rain here on Thursday, and as we go into Saturday, we're bouncing back into the mid-60s, so it's relatively mild. And for the most of this whole time, it's going to be dry. Wednesday and Thursday, a few showers, but the majority of the days, both of them look dry. Are dealing with a freeze tomorrow. So just be prepared tomorrow morning. It's around 30, 32 in the city, outlying areas down into the 20s. And more likely than not, you'll have to scrape your windshield tomorrow morning if your car's outside. We'll probably have some frost on it.
And the rivers?
The rivers, we're almost to crest in Pacific. Merrimack's still rising, Valley Park and Eureka, but it's almost there. It's within a foot.
There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. We're always streaming on 5+.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis. That starts at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.